Okay, let's just jump right into this. There is some memes that I'm going to easily disprove. This is the type of mentality that I'm having to deal with right here. And he says, how do we stand on the earth if it's round? I don't hate flat earthers. They're just other humans just like me. They've got their errors, I've got my errors. I've got friends that are flat earthers. But I really dislike the theory because it's against all civilization, all learning, all education. And these flat-brained people are putting out memes that don't make any sense at all. Like this one right here. A round ball doesn't hold water, but a flat ball does. That's just so dumb. I don't know how to respond to that. But I'm going to try it. This is a drawing that would help us to understand. With anything, you start with the basics and you work your way on up, okay? There is such a thing as gravity. It's been proven, okay? And gravity is the force towards the center of any object. So the center of the earth, okay, is right here. So I'm going to refer to this in a number of different ways. But, so you've got water around most of the earth, okay? And it stays in place because the center of the earth is the same distance all the way around, basically. And the gravity, there's not any gravity pulling it this way or pulling it that way. It's toward the center, okay? So that's just something very basic. Why he even says this, I don't know. Does he think the earth is so small it's like a soccer ball? What the hell? It's retarded. So a flat ball holds water. Okay, so I guess he thinks that if there's water on here, it would run off because the direction of gravity is straight up and down. So he doesn't understand that gravity goes towards the center of the mass of any object. He's just missing something that's very, very basic. Okay, let's move on to the next one. If Earth was spinning, this guy could stay right here for 12 hours and land on the other side of the planet. If you go out into space and you have a circular object, let's say it's very, very dense, okay? And it's fairly big, so it has its own small amount of gravity. And then you have an atmosphere, just say oxygen around it, okay? And then you set that ball to spinning, okay? At first, this oxygen is not going to be spinning, okay? But because of the friction right here between the spinning object and the molecules of oxygen, you know, air is not nothing. It's something. There's molecules there, okay? And so because of the friction of that, right at the surface, that air would be moving with the earth, maybe not as, or with the ball, not as fast. But little by little, the whole atmosphere around it is going to also be spinning. So it spins also. And that's what happens with us. We are on a ball that's been spinning for 6 billion years. Okay, it's had plenty of time for the atmosphere to catch up to its spin, okay? All the atmosphere spins with it. So you can send, if there's no wind, you can send a balloon up and it'll go straight up, and then you can shoot it with a 22, and it'll go straight down. It's not going to go over here because in the meantime the earth is spun all the way over to here. Because everything in the atmosphere is moving along with it, and that spin. another just basic thing. This is like really retarded. Another example of someone that doesn't understand that gravity is towards the center. In this case, towards the center of the earth. So on opposite sides of the world, there's no right side up and upside down. Australia is not upside down. Everywhere you go on the earth, your right side up is away from the gravitational pull, and downward is towards the gravitational pull. So you can have a building right here that's right side up. And the opposite side of the world, you can have a building right here, and to them, that's right side up too. Because the reference point is the center of the earth. This is not the reference point. There's no imaginary, line down here that's a reference point that all gravity goes towards. There's no such thing. It's just, people don't understand the most basic things. These are the people that were throwing spitballs in class instead of paying attention. Next meme. Okay, so it says, if we were living on a giant ball, an airplane would constantly have to dip its nose all the time to not find itself at 800,000 feet in just half an hour and soon floating into outer space. Okay, this is a picture of a plane. Planes have something that's called flaps. And planes don't go by their direction. They go, well, I mean, they do, and as far as east, west, south, and north, they go by altitude. They set their flap so they can ascend to a certain altitude and then maintain that altitude. Okay? So that flap is creating an upward force to suspend the airplane in the air. That upward force has to be equal to the gravitational force in order for that plane to maintain its altitude. And that's what pilots do. They set the direction, whatever. They're going northeast. And then they set the altitude. They know at which altitude they want to fly. And that's all there is to it. There's no such thing as a plane pointing in one direction and wind up flying off into space. Where do people get these ideas? I mean, really? What kind of bizarre world do they live in? This is just unreal. Okay, this one says, if you can't figure out that someone is lying to you, I'm not sure I can help you. And the photo was courtesy of NASA. A lot of their teaching is based on the fact that NASA is not always 100% honest. But here's the thing. We've known that the Earth is round by looking at the constellations, making certain measurements, dealing with the angles of shadows, etc., from 300 years before Christ. Do you know when NASA was established? NASA was established in 1958. Our belief in the round Earth does not depend on a single freaking photo. Not one. NASA can doctor their photos as much as they want to for whatever reason they want to. It has no importance and no significance on this topic whatsoever. Okay? What do you expect from an organization that started out with a bunch of freaking Nazi scientists. Okay? Forget NASA. Just forget NASA. The round earth does not depend on NASA. Here is Mr. Tyson Bill. He says the earth is too big to see the curve. And what he's referring to is when you look from side to side, you know, how many miles are you seeing? Can you see a 1-degree curvature? Do you think you could see a 1-degree curvature? You really do? I don't think so. So this meme is like saying, he's saying you can't see the curve, but because of the curve, ships disappear. Well, it's two different things. We're talking about your eyesight over a certain amount of miles, left or right, and the very small amount of curvature. And ships, they do disappear. They go over the curve and they disappear. So this is, you know, people make up these stupid memes and this promote flat earth theory. They're tricksters. They really are. That's the only intelligence they have, is the ability to fool people by confusing two topics together. When it comes to the curvature, I'm going to show you how to use math to figure out the curvature. The circumference around the Earth is 24,000 miles, okay? So if from left to right you can see 100 miles, let's divide that by 24,000. Okay, and the whole, for that 24,000, we've got 360 degrees of curvature. Okay, so we're going to multiply that by 360. So 100 miles will give you 1.5 degrees. Maybe I should draw it out for you. This bottom line actually has a curvature to it of 1.5 degrees. Now, do you think you can look at an ocean surface and be able to tell by looking at it 1.5 degrees? Do you really think you can? I don't think so. This is flat. This is 1.5 degrees. So yeah, ships do disappear over the curvature of the Earth, and that's one of the most easy proofs that the Earth is curved. There's no other reason for it. They actually disappear farther out than they should if we didn't have optical refraction. And optical refraction is another thing that people that throw spitballs in class don't understand. When you have light going from a low density to high density, it actually changes direction. And so when you're close to the Earth, especially when you're there's a body of water between where you're standing and what you're looking at, the light from the object you're looking at curves towards you. It makes it seem like there's less of an Earth curvature than there actually is. And you know, this is, you know, people that throw spitballs, they don't like to read, they don't like to study, they don't like to think. But this is the information right here on atmospheric refraction and other aspects of the same subject. If you want to know something, you have to read. You can't just say, well, that makes sense to me. I'm not going to delve into it anymore. My common sense is perfect, and that's the end of the story. You have to study. What gets me is, why do people who don't like to study are promoting their scientific ideas, which when you have an opinion about the object or something, you're delving into science, your mathematics, physics. But if you're going to get some bonehead that's only good at throwing balls into hoops, why does this guy even have the arrogance to state an opinion about anything other than ice cream, babes, and basketballs? Why? Why do people do that? If you don't understand science, you don't understand something as simple as the formula for gravity, don't make an opinion. Here's another interesting meme. Cover that stupid face. Scientific fact, Earth's curve is calculated by 8" per mile. 5 miles is 16 feet of curvature. Where is the curve? Well, you're dealing with a number of things here. If you put a ruler on this, you would see that there is a curve for one. They're just hoping that you're not going to do that. There it is right there. So do you see? This goes down because it's a curve. Why would a bridge have a curve? Why would you think an engineer is just going to go straight line from the beginning to the end? No, he goes by the height from the water. So as the water curves, the bridge curves. And this is saying, where's the curve? Because they're assuming you're going to be so stupid as to just take your first, optical instinct and say, well, I don't really see a curve. Just get off your fat, lazy ass, put a ruler up against it, and see, there is a curve. Oh my God. So we've got gravity, we've got optical refraction, we've got ships disappearing over the edge. People that have fallen for these outrageous conspiracy theories, there are good ones and there are outrageous ones. And the outrageous ones were created by the CIA to divide us. The flat earth theory being one of them. The no moon landing being another. And Mandela effect being another. And there's probably a few more that I just is skipping my mind right now. They want us divided because, I mean, they started this, at least 10 years ago. And they wanted us to be divided at this moment in time because the new world order, which is going to rob us of our human rights, needs as little opposition as possible. Okay? And if we can't unite to fight the new world order, then they've won. Okay? So basically what I want to say right now is that if you've fallen for one of these theories, you've landed right into their lap. Okay. Last but not least, I want to show you my page, which I'm continually adding onto. This is the address right here. And it goes through some of the fallacies and a little bit better explanation for each reason that the fallacies are fallacies. This is an interesting one right here. People think that because we're traveling at 1,000 miles per hour that we should be flung off the earth. Well, the centrifugal force goes mostly by the rotations per minute, and we're only making one rotation in 24 hours. So that gives an RPM of 0.0007, which is why for a 150-pound man, the centrifugal force is only like half a pound, 0.52 I think it was. Yeah, just half a pound. So if you weigh 150 pounds, in reality you weigh 150.5 if centrifugal force wasn't acting on you towards away from the earth. So yeah, you know, look at my page, read this stuff, get an education on the subject. Do not associate yourself with stupid people that confuse topics together, twist the facts. This little meme right here says Lake Baikal in Siberia is over 400 miles long. When frozen, the curvature should add 20 miles. But instead, it's one of the flattest places on Earth. God, give me patience. If you look at this on Google Map and you measure the distance between these two little magnifying glasses, which I assume is what they've used for this picture out here, but probably not, because these people are deceivers. When I look it up on Google Maps, I found it, and this is the showing what the distance is per miles, and that's so from about right there to right there would be maybe 35 miles. So immediately I caught him in a lie. You know, the lake itself might be 400 miles long. This picture is not of the whole lake. This picture is that section right there. And since you catch him in one lie, maybe there's another lie. Maybe this picture is like someone standing right over here. You don't know. It's easy to fool someone. And then, you know, they say it's one of the flattest places on earth. Believe me, I wouldn't deceive you. I'm an honest flat earther. Yeah, maybe I'm a Christian. Yeah. As if the Bible teaches the flat earth, which it doesn't. There's some verses in there that seem to imply that belief, but when you look at the context in which it's stated, you do research on the words that we use for that verse, you'll see that there's nowhere in the Bible that it teaches the flat earth. The flat earthers also, they like to use the Bible because the Bible does in Genesis say that there's a firmament above the earth. They, in their little primitive, uneducated minds that knew nothing of mathematics, nothing of science, nothing of physics, they thought there was something up there holding the water in place. And they said, when it rains, God opens the windows of the firmament to let the water fall down. Okay. There is no firmament. There are no windows. There's only stupid, uneducated people fooling people into believing their religion and pretending like their ignorance is of God. We no longer need mystical, unknown forces to explain nature. We can explain it all with physics, mathematics, and science. This side explains how water vapor has 2/3 the weight of dry air, which makes it lighter than air, which is why it rises. But when they in the clouds start to collide with each other, they form bigger and bigger clumps of water, until it's so dense and heavy it won't stay up. That's when it comes down as rain.